I think naturally, when you aspire to do things, then you become brave enough to put yourself in situations with people that inspire you. And so I've done a lot of things like reaching out to people that I normally wouldn't feel like, you know, like, oh,
Yeah.
they won't listen to me, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like, oh, they won't respond, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then you find that a lot of people, more people are willing to help your journey and be a part of your journey and encourage your journey. And so bravery, I think, is the key.
Welcome to the Amplified Whole Health Podcast, where personal and organizational health meet. I'm your host, Justin Collier, and my goal is to bring you insightful interviews with business owners and leaders from a variety of different industries. We'll be talking about employee development, leadership, company culture, and quality products and services and how they drive success in business. Thanks for joining me, and let's get started. Welcome, everyone. I appreciate you joining today. Don't forget to check out amplifiedwholehealth.com, as well as like us, follow us, etc. on Facebook and Instagram and all of that good stuff. Today, I'm joined by April Patterson, and just super thrilled to have you here. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I've been trying to figure out how do I introduce you. If I look at your background and what you do, you're an actress, you're a producer, you own three businesses. Three businesses?
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Three businesses. On top of that, you're a manager and you're a teacher now at an acting school, as well as an instructor in martial arts. You have a black belt in Taekwondo, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
All right. So I've thrown out a bunch of stuff, but I guess how would you describe yourself?
I don't know. People ask me all the time, and I'm like, ugh, how much time do you have? And it's not because I feel like so great about all these things. It's just like I just do so much. I get overwhelmed telling everybody all the stuff that I do. But I don't know. I think I would describe myself as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I
That's
think.
like the best way to sum up all of it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you are constantly on the go. I mean, for as long as I've known you, you have always got something going on between you and your family, and just a lot going on. And so, I guess with that, maybe let's just start with family. I mean, you're married, you have three children, and how do you manage all of the things that you're doing? And a house and a home and family and everything else that goes with that?
Well, first, there are a lot of ways. I think the most important way is having a good partner. My husband has been super supportive and helpful, and he adjusts when he needs to, just so that we can all do what we need to do. And we've been very blessed that he gets to work remotely with his job. And so he does have the flexibility to be able to pop in and pop out when we need him to. So that's been very helpful. But also, he's right in the mix of running things with me as well. And he's still working full time at his other job. So without a solid tribe, I don't think either one of us would survive very well. Yeah, our parents are very supportive. They pop in and pop out when we need them to, sometimes with like a day's notice. And man, friends, family, I don't know. I think I don't think anybody can survive this crazy amount of things that we have going on without a really good supportive tribe.
Yeah. Well, how do you keep yourself moving with all of these things that you have going on? Where do you get the energy for this? Were you just born with this much energy?
No. I was not. I mean, it actually, my husband jokes that it takes me an hour to fully, like, from the time I wake up to be alive.
Okay.
um, I think I just thrive. I enjoy what I do so much that energizes me.
Got it.
But yeah, I do have to take moments for a little bit of self-care and rest often because I do get worn out and I do get tired. And I think a part of being able to do everything that we do is taking the time for self-care and self-love and recognizing when my body needs rest and allowing it that process and honoring my body because I'm not a young little buck anymore. Back in the in my 20s, I could go all day long, and I'm starting to realize the older I get, I really do get worn out and tired. So um, I do, for the most part, stay energized. I have a 3-year-old, well, four. She just turned 4, so I have a 4-year-old. So I have to have, be able to keep up with her, and I just make sure that I honor my body and get rest when it tells me it needs to rest.
Yeah. Well, speaking of keeping up, I mean, just trying to get on your schedule is somewhat challenging, I'll be honest, and not in a bad way. It was really funny because we had scheduled this for, I don't know, like a week or
I
two
know,
ago.
sorry.
And you're like, yeah, Friday sounds great. We're going to set it up. And so I'm like, all right, here we go. We're going to be rocking and rolling on Friday. And then I get a message from you and you're like, yeah, I'm in Atlanta. And I'm thinking, wow, all right. So you're in Atlanta and then you're like, well, I've got to drive back. So this is probably not going to work on Friday.
Yeah, the
It was
crazy
pretty
thing.
funny.
Yeah, I mean, I probably still would have made it work, but like I said, I would have been tired, but I still, so part of just like being able to do what I do is being very honest with the people in my life and, letting them know when I need to like take time or reschedule and stuff like that. And everybody kind of knows how crazy our schedules are, so they're very supportive and flexible with us. But yeah, we got that notice to get to Atlanta within like a day, like that morning our agents called us, say, hey, you booked, can you be here tomorrow? I was like, and with COVID, it's very the restrictions on when you can be on set and flying, it's very strict, so our only option was to drive. So yeah, by that morning we got noticed, and then by like 4 o'clock that afternoon we were driving to Atlanta, 14 hours.
Yeah, it's a long way. My folks live in Atlanta, and obviously we were in Austin before that, so I understand it is a long way.
Well, but before we started doing all of this, and even honestly, still, I never before the virus, I never really drive anywhere. I mean, if it was more than 4 hours, I was on a plane.
Yeah.
So this has definitely forced us to take some road trips, but I'm realizing that I've missed out on a lot of this beautiful country by hopping on a plane. And not just driving through it. I'm enjoying it. Honestly, it's more peaceful than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful, beautiful country, and there's lots to see here. So,
yeah.
Well, let's maybe talk a little bit about your, I guess, acting career and the producing part of it. And how did you get started in this?
Well, I actually started managing my kids. So my children have been doing it a lot longer than I have. And actually, my daughter, who's 14 now, has been doing it since she was 6. And she's only been doing television and film probably the last 2.5, maybe 3 years. But she started off doing commercials, and then and she trains very hard. I mean, she's probably trained at least 2 to 3 days a week since she was 6. So, she doesn't take it lightly. And this is all self-motivated, by her, self-driven. And my son jumped in on a class with her, loved it, so he wanted to do it. And they are some hard workers, and it shows because they booked quite a bit, and so they kept me very busy. And I've learned to navigate this industry all by trial and error. And I had a lot of lessons learned and a lot of things I wish I could take back, but a lot of moves I'm glad I moved on faith and went for. And so just watching them grow into these beautiful, very empathetic, mature little children, and kind of going through, I wouldn't call it a midlife crisis, but I had a baby 10 years after I had those two. And so I definitely went through this phase where I wanted to do something for myself, and they just looked like they were enjoying it so much. So I joined them and decided to jump into acting and just absolutely fell in love. And from there, we just had so much experience on set. I didn't even seek to be a producer, but I started getting requests to help with sets, and then helped to produce. And then it just kind of, snowballed into that. And people just kept approaching me about different projects. And before I knew it, I had about 3 projects under my belt since, last year. And, people ask me how I get into it all the time. And I'm like, gosh, how did I? I don't know. People just started requesting, and I'm the type of person that loves a challenge. So anything new, I'm, especially dealing with our industry, I'm really excited to learn. And I think you become a even more well-rounded actor when you have your hands behind the scenes and as well as in front of the camera.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, so it's just definitely has done nothing but encouraged and helped our careers by me and being behind and producing as well.
Yeah. So what's the strategy when you think about these projects that you're taking on, not only for you, but also, I mean, you're managing your children that are in the industry. What's your strategy for making decisions?
Well, the first and foremost, it has to sit well in my spirit. When someone approaches me about a project, and I actually did turn down one project because it didn't sit very well in my spirit. So I have to be okay with what's being produced, and I have to be, I've even had lessons learned with that. I've learned that I've had to be proud of the work that I produced and want my name tied to it. And I also made a personal goal of, if I produce something, I want my children to be able to sit and watch it. So that's really important for me. But just, I always approached any project letting anybody I partner with know that first and foremost, I'm a manager and a mom. And so they have to be extremely flexible with me. I have to have the ability to work remotely. I do a lot of kind of administrative behind the scenes things, talking to a lot of people, getting funding, stuff like that. So it doesn't necessarily require me to always be on set. And so I think the most important thing is having people who understand what I do and are very flexible and allow me the freedom to work how I can work. And also being able to be proud of the project and have it sit well with my spirit.
How do you handle communication on a set? One of the things I always talk about on this show is communication with employees or shareholders, stockholders, that kind of thing. And so I'm just kind of curious, how does a communication structure work on a set where you're trying to move a lot of people in the same direction, not unlike a business, but in a very different kind of way? Could you maybe share a little bit about that?
Oh, wow. Each project is so different. And obviously, you're learning more and more about how to be more productive with each new project that you get. So that's a really interesting question because everyone has been very different. I think the most important thing is to be as available as possible with respects to just still being able to be very present for my family. So just, letting people know the best ways to contact me, staying very open with my communication with everyone, letting people know what I need from them right up front. And then most importantly, trying to get as much as I possibly can get done before we reach like the production phase of everything too. So that's really important. I tend to procrastinate a lot. So the one thing that producing has taught me and has encouraged me to do is getting as much done as I possibly can get done, at the beginning of the process. And that's helped too. And just making sure that I have really good partners that are good communicators as well, easy to work with. And when I tell them what needs to be done, they're on it. So that always helps, is having really great people to work with.
Well, when you think about, you got started in business, or I think originally, right? You said that you're an entrepreneur, I guess, and
that's
so
actually my major.
That's your major. All right. Yeah. So you majored in business.
Yes.
And then you ended up starting a business. What'd you start off doing?
Well, my husband and I own a skills mastery learning program. We started off with 2 brick and mortar we had retail locations. Right now, we currently just have our main center. But one of the things that my husband developed, just because we saw a need for it, so we had a lot of international students. So he developed an online version of that. And from that, we decided to convert one of our centers into full online version of our program. And we realized how like cost effective it was to do that, and how there was such a big need for it. So that's where I started kind of all of my business ventures, and it just kind of exploded from there.
Well, and you got started with your brick and mortar buildings. I know you had one there in the Austin area, and then you had another one up north, like in Dallas, maybe. Is that right?
Frisco, Texas. Yeah.
Frisco. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you manage remote remote office in that scenario?
Well, when we had the one in Austin, I actually managed that center here. So for
Okay.
most of the beginning parts of when I started that business, well, we had an established brick and mortar in Frisco. So when I started it here, I was in a physical location. But when we went remote, for the most part, my husband and I kind of partnered together. We worked together on strategies to help grow the online platform, to help develop it. We had a lot of lessons learned as far as like what worked, what didn't work. So we tested a lot of tablets. We tested how different ways for the kids to work remotely. It was just all kinds of things that we've had to work on together with becoming an online platform. So a lot of it is just finding the best ways for the online platform to be as efficient and as great as it can possibly be. And a lot of marketing.
A lot of marketing, yeah. Well, you talked about a lot of trial and error and learning, and so I'm curious. I'm going to use the word fail.
Yeah.
I'm
totally okay with the word fail, because I feel like in some ways it's necessary to fail so that you know what works and what doesn't work. And I think as long as you don't let that discourage you from continuing on, then it's just a necessary thing that happened for progress.
Yeah, I always like the term fail forward.
Yes, fail forward. I always say that. Fail forward.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's such a great representation of what it really means and what failure really means. Is failure is not a setback.
No, it's not, and it's inevitable. It's gonna happen, and it's necessary in order for growth, I believe. So I'm totally okay with failing forward.
Yeah. Do you have a failure that you can think of that you would be willing to share?
As in what business? Which one?
Just pick one. It doesn't matter.
So many. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, with my gosh, let me see. That's just such an interesting question. I'm trying to think of which one. With our acting career, I definitely have been in situations where I've considered compromising what I'm comfortable with in order to get a role. And I think one of the failures is that I did in there is accepting something that I wasn't okay with, for the sake of thinking that it would give me exposure and growth. And then honestly, it didn't. And I didn't feel great about the project. So I think that was definitely a forward fail, in knowing that what boundaries I'm willing to set for myself as an actress or not. With our business, gosh, that was such a learning process for us. I mean, it was such a new thing. I think, period, we hadn't even really found too many programs like ours. We might actually be the only one of its nature in the way that we do it. There's very few out there. So it was literally just figuring out what worked and what didn't work. And a lot of it didn't work. There was a lot of conferencing apps that just didn't work well with the kids. We learned that there are certain things, because of the age of the kids, the older kids could handle it better than the younger kids. And so a lot of that, it was a lot of just learning how to navigate what worked for all of our age demographic.
How important is being able to adjust in these scenarios?
So important. Like, you have to be in a state of constant adjustment. in all of our businesses, especially now with this virus, because I mean, this whole year has been about adjusting, right? To navigate the world now. But with our karate school, we had to figure out, we've always been like an in-person, kind of program. And we had to figure out how to do that online and still motivate the kids and still be able to be present virtually. How do you be present virtually? So we had to figure out how to do that. With acting, it was kind of good for us because we spent a lot of time traveling the callbacks to different states. And I mean, it can be very expensive, and you're not always guaranteed a role. So sometimes it feels like a waste, but we never say that. We always say it's an investment. But we had to adjust, being able to do things that we do in person virtually, with our business, just learning to not only like figure out what worked for our system, but also encouraging our clients to just walk that walk with us. We had some very dedicated clients that it was kind of their first entry into something like this, like a online academic program. And so part of the adjustment was us encouraging and motivating them to just stick it out with us until we figure out what works for everybody. And we have the best clients in the world. The program it's grown into something so big and beautiful, and I'm so proud of it. But oh my gosh, in everything that we've done, we're in a constant state of adjustment.
Yeah, I think you just mentioned your clients and, encouraging them to stick with you because change is difficult.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. And not everyone is as invested in your passion as you are, in your business as you are. So
yeah,
part of our strategy is to be a very hands-on, family-oriented type program where you have a lot of interaction, even though it's virtually with our instructors. They call you by name. They know their clients, these are kids that they work with 2 to 3 days a week. And so they know, oh, how was soccer today? We try to encourage our instructors to invest in our students, especially the kids. They get so excited. They know they have their favorite instructors. And so they'll ask, how'd you do today? And, how was your soccer game this Saturday? And then, okay, let's get to work. So yeah, we just, it's definitely been an adjustment this whole year. Well, and then also hopping and having people around us, especially with our acting, being able to adjust to our crazy schedules, because things pop up within like an hour or a day, and so people in our lives are in constant state of adjustment with being flexible with us too. So
yeah.
Thank you, Justin.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I'm glad we can do
He's
this.
like, yeah, we are. We are always adjusting for the pattern.
No, it's good. Well, I was just, I guess, maybe thinking a bit about your employees at the online learning, and have you been no, I don't say responsible. Have you been involved in the hiring process and looking for employees?
Yes, we have. I have. Yes.
Yeah.
Don't know how to ask that. We definitely look for people who have who love children. This is all about, the kids, and we want to make sure that they feel very comfortable with the people that they work with. And so the people that we hire have to have a great personality. We give them a very strict academic test to pass, so we know that they know what they're doing. They go through the training process, and so absolutely, we run every candidate through all of the people who are in charge of the company.
Yeah. Well, and you have so much going on, right? You have multiple businesses. You're an actress, you're a producer, you're a manager, how do you find balance? And let's just start with from the business side of things. You have all of these different businesses and things that you're running. How do you find balance in those things?
Um, I think preparation is the key. I think the more that I can set myself up to be prepared to take on so many different things, the better. So I started investing. I used to have a calendar, and then I would force myself to write everything down. But I used my phone, and I realized I spend all day, every day looking at my phone. I did not want, my calendar to be another reason why I looked at my phone. So I invested in this really cute Erin Condren, calendar, very detailed. And so I have this, actual physical calendar that I open up every day, and I plan out my day and prioritize my tasks. And I try to spend a designated amount of hours on each different thing that I'm involved in. Obviously, some of them require less of me than others. Um, and some of them can pop in,
Yeah.
need me to pop in. Randomly. And so I think the best way for me to balance it all out is to just start my day and prepare myself as much as possible for the things that are priority within each business.
I think a lot of us fall into the habit of just living through life rather than being intentional about our days.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you have, in order for you to be successful, you have to be very intentional about your days.
Absolutely. And it's still a struggle. I'm not going to lie. It's still a struggle. But I have to force myself. And intentional is like the word of my life, because along with being intentional in my businesses that we run in our careers, I'm also very intentional about my health. So if I don't take good care of myself, I will physically just kind of, it starts manifesting itself physically. I have a condition called VCD, vocal cord dysfunction, and it causes me to have a lot of respiratory issues. So my diet, I'm very intentional about my diet because that helps the condition. I'm very intentional about staying physically moving and in shape, if I, so all of that I'm intentional about. And so it it forces me to prioritize things in my life and to put more effort into the things that are important to me. But that also means that I got to spend less time in the frivolous things in life where 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 I'm, not lollygagging around, and I got to say a lot of no's. And that was really hard for me at first to tell people no. Like, no, to set boundaries, not necessarily no, but set boundaries. So, no, I'm not going to do lunch with you every day this week. How about we do this once a month, and I'll put you in on my calendar, and scheduling people in, because that's also very important. Relationships are important too. So I'm really intentional about maintaining my relationships. But I've learned that a lot of my relationships that have lasted in my life are the people who absolutely understand my life too. And so, you know, I'm very intentional about making sure that I can put everything that's important to the forefront.
Yeah. How have you surrounded yourself with the people that you want to become, if that question makes sense?
I find that I naturally find myself, like, God just brings all these people that inspire me to my life. And um it's all grace, because I'm like, gosh, how did I get in this circle of people? They're so amazing and inspiring, and I'm so unworthy. No, that's not the case. I always feel worthy. But I think naturally, when you aspire to do things, then you become brave enough to put yourself in situations with people that inspire you. And so I've done a lot of things like reaching out to people that I normally wouldn't feel like, like, oh, they won't listen to me, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like, oh, they won't respond, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then you find that a lot of people, more people are willing to help your journey and be a part of your journey and encourage your journey. And so bravery, I think, is the key. I think I'm
How do
very
you,
brave. I approach a lot of situations and a lot of people that I'm very like scared of, but I don't let fear keep me from doing those things.
I tell you, fear is such an overwhelming
Yeah.
feeling, and one that can absolutely stop us in our tracks, and in some cases it sends us backwards.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And um, you know, the one thing that my husband says about me all the time, which I didn't recognize in myself, was he always says, "You're so brave." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, you just kind of see a situation and jump right in." And I'm like, "Yeah, because I mean, aren't we all supposed to?" He's like, "If you want something bad enough, don't you just kind of go for it?" And he's like, "No, most people don't. Don't you? Aren't you, you know, scared to just jump into something?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I guess my desire to be to feel my purpose in this life is greater than my fear, and so I don't let it keep me from doing the things and reaching out, you know, that are necessary, and reaching out to the people who are necessary. And in a lot of ways, you know, you don't always get the response you want. You don't always make the connections that you want, but you just keep going. There's always new opportunities. There's always new connections to be made. Um, there's always different jobs to be had. There's always a way. There's
Yeah,
always a
you've
way
got 10 of
forward.
them. You've got 10 jobs.
I got a lot of jobs. I'm trying to get rid of some of
Uh,
them. No, yeah, no, I'm not.
that's
I,
awesome.
and
Well, you
the thing is, I really enjoy every single thing. And we didn't even mention, my husband and I have this health and wellness center that's literally right next door to the learning center, and
okay?
it focuses on red light therapy. So that's another one of our. I kind of chunk those two together. That I know,
Yeah,
because then people be like, they lose count. They'd be like, "Wait, what? So you got this business too?" I'm like, yeah. But we do have a wellness center as well. Yeah.
how do you make decisions about the businesses that you get involved in or the activities that you get involved in?
Um, prayer. I pray about
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but a lot of our like our wellness center, and then our learning center. That the learning center was a family business
Hmm.
that I married into. The red light therapy was just, you know, Dre bringing up an idea, and you know, and I was even a little hesitant about that one, but um, I think Dre and I are both brave in that way. I think we're very motivated to just kind of create our own destiny and legacy, you know, financially and whatever else, just for our kids and for ourselves. And so we just, you know, we just go for it. If it sounds very good and we can see a way we can make it make sense, we absolutely will go for it. And God has provided. Sometimes I don't even know how, you know, we are able to manage to get in to start up these companies, but God has always given us that blessing right when we need it. And so it's always a matter of being brave enough to step into that.
You've mentioned faith several times, and so I'm curious, how did you find balance between um, acting and moving forward on your own versus um, maybe letting God drive things forward?
Well, so you're talking about my faith in acting. How do I let God drive?
No, I just mean, so you've mentioned faith a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you find the ability to move forward on things that you might be interested in or passionate about? How do you make a decision that says, I'm going to do this or this? You know, you might have a couple of options. And then where does that balance with your faith come in, and versus almost like you driving and making a decision to move forward on something versus God driving and making a decision to move forward?
Well, I think every opportunity we get, um, wh- so when we first started acting, I don't think that I was wise enough to approach this career alongside God. And so it
Okay.
was like, oh, this is a really fun thing to do. Let's just do this and jump into it. And we did it. And then I realized I need God in this journey with us. And so one of the things that I did, um, kind of early on when we started this, was I like I said, I have this, this physical calendar, and I do this every year. I buy this calendar, and I say, and I pray over it, and I ask God, this means nothing if we aren't serving you. This means nothing if this is not for your purpose. And so I ask him to guide us, and I ask him to bring the opportunities that he wants us to have. And I ask him to walk this journey with us. Because I'm very clear on that. I don't want us to be in this industry for the sake of just being in this industry. Chances are I don't know, like there's like a 0.05% chance that people will see me on the streets and be like, oh, like recognize me in that way. I don't know if I'll ever be famous, but I do know that, we absolutely love doing it. And so we want God to walk alongside with us on it. So to answer your question, I feel like everything that comes our way that we consider is brought to us by God, and he allows us to make the decision on that. But I just let him lead. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I do let him lead. And I don't feel like he'll bring us anything that we can't handle. Yeah. So I let him lead every opportunity, and I feel like I'll find balance because he brought it to us.
Nice. So you feel like the doors are kind of presented to you as an option for you to walk through.
Absolutely. There are opportunities that have come our way, and I'm like, how in the world did we get here? And I'm so grateful. Thank you, God, for bringing this to us. I mean, even how my kids got their agents in LA, a typical story. It wouldn't have normally ever happened. And to this day, I'm still like, oh my goodness, how did we get such amazing actors? And agents. And I think that's God, God literally was like, I was being very brave, reaching out to people that normally would say no to so many different, people. And I just walked on faith, and I kept pursuing, and we ended up in this wonderful, wonderful agency. And to this day, I'm still in awe of God. I send people to them all the time, and they're very hard to get into. Very hard. And so I'm just like, oh, I'm so grateful that they accepted us, or my children. I'm not with them, my kids are.
Well, how important is gratitude when you think about not just from a faith perspective, but also with other people?
Oh my goodness. It's so important. I think no one should ever get full enough on themselves to forget to show gratitude to the people who helped them get where they are. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful, not just for for the people who have given us a hand up and has created a table of opportunity and welcomed us there, but for the people who I consider people that I mentor and my clients, because it reminds me so much of how hard we had to work to get to where we are. And it's always a constant reminder of how grateful I need to be that we have had the opportunities we have, because I'm always reminded of the start of that process. And I'm just so excited to help them. And I'm so excited to get them started on their journey. And I'm just so grateful to everybody who sees something in us and trusts us with everything that they hand us.
You talk about people helping you along the way and being grateful for those folks, and they've provided you opportunities and given you options maybe that you didn't necessarily have before. How did you get over that maybe initial fear of reaching out to people? And the reason why I'm asking this question is because I think so many people are afraid to get started, that they just never get off the starting line because they let fear get in their way. And so what, maybe, I don't know, is it like a trick or a tip or something? What do you do
well, first
to motivate
of all,
yourself?
The minute you acknowledge that fear is not of Christ, I think that's what you need. And within our within any of our businesses we have, not just like, our wellness center and our learning center, but also our acting careers, like I think I accepted very early on that failing forward was part of the process. And the minute, and I had to like, when I made it like, that's just necessary in my mind, then I was a lot more brave on moving, like getting those out of the way. Like, let me just hurry up and fail forward. Like, let me just hurry up and get these failures, And so the fear wasn't there because I already knew it was a necessary part of the process. But I just knowing that like knowing your purpose, when you are so sure about what you're capable of, but not just what you're capable of, but that like God has a purpose for you and all of these things and gifts that he's presented to you or given you. I don't know. I'm more afraid of not serving my purpose than I am of moving forward with those obstacles that I have to get out of the way. I'm more afraid of like facing God and him being like, well, April, I gifted you all of this stuff. What did you do with it? And me being like, nothing. I'm more afraid of that than than a million no's before I get to that one yes that matters.
Wow. I would say most of us live the other way.
Really?
I think so. Yeah, I think a lot of folks are afraid to move forward and do get hung up on where to go or how to go, and maybe this is maybe a good follow-up question for you is how do you look at something that is so big, like getting into acting or starting a brick and mortar store? How do you look at one of those things and not get intimidated by the size of it and move forward?
I don't think it's not that I'm not intimidated. I am always intimidated. Fear is definitely, I'm not saying that I don't get fearful. I just don't let it keep me back. Because I know I'm so sure about my purpose in God and my purpose in Christ. And, I'm so sure like about, I feel like honestly, with a lot of hard work and dedication and just walking with Christ, you can achieve so many things far past what you think you're capable of. And so I just hang on to that so hard. So when I do have moments of fear, I just keep thinking about like the end game. No, April, you got to keep pushing. Yeah, that fear is not going to do anything for you. You know what you're capable of. You work really, really hard. And it's just a matter of time. You keep walking this walk with God and you'll get there. And it's about patience, which I am not good at. I don't have patience. I mean, I am like the most impatient person.
Yeah, ever. I think it's a virtue. I think patience is a virtue.
And yes, but I've learned how to be patient, and I definitely I trust the process. I trust the process more than I fear the process.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you mentioned purpose. So how did you get to your purpose? How did you find your purpose?
I think there wasn't like, so how do I answer? That's a trick. My ultimate purpose is to use whatever talents and gifts that I have here on earth to make this world a better place, to bring light to Christ, and to honor the people in my life. And so, and to help others. And I think I can do that in so many different ways. And as long as whatever I choose to do is heading towards those goals, then that's my purpose. And so like from an earthly stance, like, that might look very different in so many different ways. That like somebody might say, well, her purpose is to have this really, crazy big, or her family to have this really big, crazy wellness center that introduces red light therapy to the world, and that encourages someone or changes someone's life, which it has. I've seen people who haven't been able to walk again because of the pain relief they're getting from this therapy. And to me, that's God right there. That's bringing God to people. I've with acting, I'm able to be a part of telling these really great stories, and then I get messages all the time. I'm not even like trying to do anything but just like do the, use the gifts God give me. And so I'm always very surprised sometimes when people like message me, and I forget that people are watching me. I forget all the time. I do, because I'm just like living. I forget even with my kids. Soleil just did that show, and I had that her show's been out for like a year, and the girls never seen her scenes because I'd like just was like, oh, it's a job. We're gonna keep walking. We're gonna keep doing it. And then people are like messaging me, and Soleil's like, Mom, I've never seen it. And so I was like, oh, yeah, I forget that like people are watching this, and I'm constantly reminded about that. And so if that encourages anyone to walk towards their purpose, if that makes anybody's life better, if I can enhance the quality of someone's life, anything like that, I'm that's my purpose, and it looks different for so many different people.
That's good. Well, maybe as we wrap up, I'll ask you one final question. How do you encourage your children with the type of schedules that you all have? How do you find time and balance to teach them the things that are important to you and to your husband? I mean, like, what is the process, or how do you think about that?
Wow, that's a good question. How do I do that? I don't know. We make it a point to stay involved however we can with our church. So like, obviously we don't make church every day, but we find that every Sunday, just because we're busy all the time. But like, Soleil, for instance, just got paid, and I tell her, hey, I put the money in our account, and I said, now go make sure you go to the church website and pay your tithing money, because we got to gift what we need to give to God. Stuff like that. So we always just remind them what we're doing it for. We always remind them what's important. And we absolutely, like, this is a family journey. So we do it together, and that makes it easier. And it's my kids that got me busy. I'm not making them busy. This is them. Like, they put all this. I mean, obviously we have the businesses.
Yeah.
And like, they'll say stuff like, okay, Mom, when we take over. And I'm like, oh, Lord, thank you, Jesus. I'll take over. And they'll say, like, my daughter who wants to do everything, I literally have to be like, hey, pull back, because we can't be a million different places. So a lot of it is motivated by them. But one of the things that we've been very intentional about as a family is making sure that we spend time together. And we're always together because we do this as a family. But we love board games, so we'll spend a lot of time playing board games. We love movies, so we'll spend time watching movies, and we spend our time. We spend our time together as a family. We pray together. We, even if it's on the go, like Xavier and I hopped in the car, drove to Atlanta, we prayed on the way, so we're constantly reminding them of the things that are important and why we do this. Yeah. And for the most part, we let them lead. It's their career, especially in our industry. You don't see that happening a lot. You see a lot of parents pushing their kids to be something that the kids aren't really sure if that's what they really want to be. And it's very important for me for it to be like self-motivated, like for them to be motivated by what we do. And anytime they're ready to let it go and they feel like it's not serving their purpose anymore, we're completely okay with it. Xavier's quit like twice already. He's changed up what it looked like, so they're kids. They're gonna, I'm about to be 40 and I still change what like how I feel like my purpose needs to look. And so they have the right, and it's important for me to support that for them, to encourage them to constantly discover what that looks like for them, what their purpose looks like, but also understand that family is important, and that God is important, and none of it matters if you're out there doing it for all the wrong reasons.
Well, I'll ask you one final question. Board games. What's the family's favorite board game? And if you don't know off the top of your head, that's fine.
Oh, no, I know.
Oh, you know. All right, go ahead then.
So our new favorite one, it's not necessarily a board game. It's called Mexican Dominoes. Have you heard of it?
Okay. I don't know.
Oh, it's so fun. We will stay up for hours and play that game. And then Dre just bought, I haven't played this with them, but Dre and the kids, they're like so animated and ridiculous. I'll walk in and they're doing like African ceremonies because they play Wakanda. And so the Black Panther game. And so part of the game is that they have to battle each other as different tribes, and they'll have like little ceremony, like where they're fighting. I'm like, y'all are ridiculous. But but I mean, anything we do, I mean, Uno is always a staple, you know, but our new favorite is the Mexican Domino.
All right, I'll have to look that up. Well, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time to come on the show. I know you've got a very busy schedule, and I'm just grateful for your time and grateful for your family. Having the opportunity to get to know them over the years has been a blessing to our family. So thank you. And thanks for being an inspiration for so many of us.
Well, thank you for saying I'm an inspiration. You know, like I said, I was like, oh, okay, I'm just living life. That's encouraging to know that I am an inspiration and just doing what Christ is telling me to do.
I'm grateful you chose to listen. Please help us out by following, liking, or subscribing to our content at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Take care and have a blessed day.